What if the silent crisis destroying millions of retirement accounts has nothing to do with the stock market, inflation, or bad investments, but everything to do with what happens inside your own bedroom every single night? The connection between sleep and retirement savings is real, it is scientifically proven, and it is quietly draining the financial futures of millions of retirees who have absolutely no idea it is happening to them. Stay with me until the very end, because what I am about to reveal will completely change the way you think about your health, your mind, and your money in retirement forever. Let me ask you something personal right now. When was the last time you woke up feeling truly rested? Not just physically rested, but mentally sharp, emotionally calm, and completely clear-headed? If you had to think about that for more than a few seconds, you are already living the problem we are going to talk about today. Because here is what nobody in the personal finance world is telling retirees, and it is something that sleep researchers and financial psychologists have known for years now. The quality of your sleep is directly and measurably connected to the quality of your financial decisions. Not loosely connected. Not occasionally connected. Directly, powerfully, and dangerously connected in ways that can cost you tens of thousands, and in some cases hundreds of thousands, of dollars over the course of your retirement. And the cruel irony of all of this is that retirement itself, the phase of life you spent decades working toward, is one of the most sleep-disrupting life transitions a human being can experience. The very thing you worked so hard to reach is quietly setting up the conditions for some of the worst financial decision-making of your entire life. And most retirees are walking straight into this trap without any warning whatsoever. Think about everything that changes when you retire. Your entire daily routine disappears overnight. The structure that kept your body clock regulated for 30 or 40 years is suddenly completely gone. Your sense of purpose shifts. Your social connections change dramatically. Your financial anxiety, instead of decreasing like you expected, often increases because now you are living off savings instead of earning a paycheck. And all of these changes combine to create a perfect storm of sleep disruption that hits retirees harder than almost any other demographic on the planet. What the research actually shows. Now let us get into the actual science behind this, because this is not opinion, this is not speculation, and this is not some feel-good wellness advice that has no real-world impact. This is hard, peer-reviewed, published research that directly connects the quality of your sleep to the quality of your financial decision-making. And once you understand what is actually happening inside your brain when you are sleep-deprived, you will never look at a bad night of sleep the same way again, especially if you are managing a retirement portfolio that has to last you 20 or 30 more years. A landmark study published in the journal Psychological Science found that sleep-deprived individuals consistently make riskier financial decisions than well-rested individuals. Not slightly riskier. Significantly riskier. The sleep-deprived participants in this study showed a dramatic increase in their willingness to gamble with money, a reduced ability to calculate long-term financial consequences, and a measurably weakened capacity to resist impulsive financial decisions. In other words, when you are not sleeping well, your brain literally loses its ability to protect your money. The part of your brain responsible for rational thinking, impulse control, and long-term planning, the prefrontal cortex, is the first region to be impaired by sleep deprivation. And it happens faster than most people realize. The retirement brain under sleep deprivation. Here is what makes this especially dangerous for retirees specifically. When you are still working, bad financial decisions have a safety net. You are still earning income. You can recover from a mistake. You have time on your side. But in retirement, there is no safety net. Every financial decision you make is coming directly out of a fixed pool of savings that has to last for the rest of your life. There is no paycheck coming in to cover a bad investment decision. There is no employer contribution coming in to rebuild what you lost. There is no second chance if you make a major financial mistake at 68 years old that wipes out 5 years of carefully accumulated savings. And yet this is exactly the life stage where sleep problems are most common and most severe. According to the National Sleep Foundation, adults over 60 are significantly more likely to suffer from insomnia, frequent nighttime waking, early morning awakening, and reduced deep sleep compared to any other adult age group. More than 50% of older adults report chronic sleep problems. More than half. That means the majority of retirees are regularly making financial decisions, managing investments, responding to market volatility, making withdrawal decisions, with a brain that is measurably and significantly impaired by poor sleep. The scale of this problem is enormous and almost completely ignored. The money-losing behaviors. So we know that sleep deprivation impairs financial decision-making. But let us get very specific about exactly how this plays out in real retirement situations. Because it is not always as obvious as making one giant catastrophic mistake. Most of the time it happens through a series of smaller, quieter, completely invisible financial behaviors that slowly and steadily drain retirement savings over months and years without the retiree ever connecting the dots back to their sleep quality. The first and most common way poor sleep destroys retirement savings is through panic selling. When you are sleep deprived, your brain's fear response is dramatically amplified. The amygdala, the emotional alarm system of your brain, becomes hypersensitive and overreactive when you are not sleeping well. So when the stock market drops, a well-rested investor sees a temporary dip and stays calm. But a sleep-deprived retiree sees the exact same drop and experiences genuine panic. Their heart races. Their anxiety spikes. And they make the single worst decision any long-term investor can make: they sell everything at the bottom of the market, locking in their losses permanently, and then miss the recovery entirely. The invisible daily drain. The second way poor sleep costs retirees money is far less dramatic but equally devastating. It is through consistently poor everyday financial judgment. Small impulsive purchases that add up. Forgetting to monitor subscriptions and automatic payments. Missing bill deadlines and paying unnecessary late fees. Falling for telephone scams and online fraud, which disproportionately target sleep-deprived older adults because their cognitive defenses are weakened. Overpaying for services because negotiating feels too mentally exhausting. Each individual mistake seems small and forgivable. But compounded over months and years of chronic poor sleep, these small financial leaks can drain tens of thousands of dollars from a retirement account that was supposed to last a lifetime. The vicious cycle nobody warns you about. Here is where everything gets even more complicated and even more dangerous. Because poor sleep does not just cause bad financial decisions cause poor sleep. And that creates one of the most destructive cycles a retiree can fall into. A cycle that feeds itself, grows itself, and becomes harder and harder to break the longer it continues. Financial anxiety keeps you awake at night. Sleep deprivation impairs your financial judgment the next day. Poor financial judgment creates more financial problems. More financial problems create more anxiety. More anxiety destroys more sleep. And around it goes, silently and relentlessly dismantling both your mental health and your retirement savings at the same time. This is not a theoretical cycle. This is something that financial therapists and sleep researchers are seeing in retirees at an alarming and growing rate. And the trigger that usually starts this cycle is something that almost every retiree experiences: the psychological shift from accumulation to withdrawal. For your entire working life your financial identity was built around earning and saving. Watching that number go up every month gave you confidence, security, and peace of mind. But the moment you retire, that number starts going down every single month. And for many retirees that shift, even when it is completely planned and completely sustainable, triggers a deep and powerful financial anxiety that strikes hardest at 3 in the morning. The 3 a.m. money spiral. Financial advisors have a name for it: they call it the 3 a.m. money spiral. It is that moment in the middle of the night when your mind suddenly locks onto every financial fear you have ever had. What if my savings run out? What if there is a market crash? What if I get sick and the medical bills overwhelm everything I saved? What if inflation keeps rising? What if I live longer than my money? Each question leads to another question, each fear triggers another fear, and before you know it an hour has passed and your heart is racing and sleep feels completely impossible. And tomorrow you will make every financial decision of that day on a brain that never properly rested. The stories behind the statistics. Sometimes numbers and science are not enough to truly understand the human cost of what we are talking about. So let me share some real composite stories based on actual financial counseling cases that show exactly how this sleep and retirement savings connection plays out in real people's lives. Because behind every statistic there is a real person, a real family, and a real retirement that was supposed to look completely different from how it actually turned out. Meet Gerald. Gerald is 69 years old and retired from a successful career in manufacturing at 65 with a solid $640,000 in his retirement account. Gerald had always been a disciplined investor, calm, patient, and rational during his working years. But within 6 months of retiring, Gerald started experiencing severe sleep problems. The structure of his working life was gone. He had no schedule, no purpose-driven routine, and no daily reason to wake up at a specific time. His sleep became completely erratic. Some nights he slept 4 hours. Some nights he was awake from 2 in the morning until dawn, just lying in the dark with his thoughts racing about whether his money would last. Gerald's financial unraveling. Then the market correction hit. It was not even a major crash, just a standard 18% market pullback that every experienced investor knows is completely normal and temporary. But Gerald was running on weeks of fragmented broken sleep. His anxiety was at an all-time high. His prefrontal cortex, that rational decision-making part of the brain, was severely impaired from chronic sleep deprivation. And in one single panic-driven afternoon he liquidated nearly $200,000 worth of index funds at the absolute bottom of that correction. He told himself he was protecting what he had left. He told himself he would reinvest when things calmed down. But by the time he felt calm enough to reinvest, the market had already fully recovered and then climbed significantly higher. Gerald missed the entire recovery. That one afternoon decision, driven entirely by sleep-deprived panic, cost him over $200,000 in permanent losses and missed growth. He went from $640,000 to a retirement account that now makes him genuinely worried about running out of money before he runs out of life. Now meet Patricia. Patricia is 71 years old and retired comfortably with $480,000 saved. Patricia's sleep problems came from a different source: the grief and loneliness that followed her husband's passing 2 years into her retirement. Grief devastated her sleep completely. And in that fog of exhaustion and emotional vulnerability, Patricia became the perfect target for financial predators who specifically hunt sleep-deprived, socially isolated, grieving older adults. Over 18 months Patricia lost $90,000 to a combination of phone scams, a fraudulent investment scheme, and a fake romantic relationship online that systematically drained her account before her children finally discovered what was happening and intervened. Fixing the root problem. So now let us talk about what you can actually do about this. Because everything we have covered so far, the science, the stories, the statistics, means absolutely nothing if you do not walk away from this video with a clear and practical plan to protect both your sleep and your retirement savings at the same time. And the good news is that the solutions here are not complicated. They are not expensive. They do not require medication or doctors or therapy, although those are always valid options. They require something much simpler: awareness and consistency. The first and most powerful solution is rebuilding structure into your retirement life immediately. Remember that the number one trigger for retirement sleep problems is the sudden loss of daily routine. Your body clock ran on a work schedule for decades, and when that schedule disappeared, your entire sleep architecture collapsed with it. The fix is simple but requires real discipline: wake up at the exact same time every single morning regardless of how you slept the night before. No exceptions on weekends. No sleeping in after a bad night. A consistent wake time is the single most powerful anchor for healthy sleep that sleep scientists universally agree on. Protecting your money while you heal your sleep. The second solution is creating what financial advisors call a financial decision cooling period. This means you make a firm personal rule that you will never make any significant financial decision, any withdrawal, any investment change, any major purchase, on the same day that you feel anxious, exhausted, or emotionally overwhelmed. You write the decision down. You sleep on it literally. You revisit it after at least 48 hours and preferably after discussing it with a trusted person. This one simple rule alone could have saved Gerald his $200,000 and saved Patricia from the scams that devastated her account. The third solution is automating your retirement finances as much as humanly possible. Automatic withdrawals. Automatic rebalancing. Automatic bill payments. The less your daily financial life depends on active decision-making from a potentially sleep-deprived brain, the safer your retirement savings will be. Remove the human decision-making element from as many financial processes as possible and you dramatically reduce the damage that poor sleep can do to your long-term financial security. The truth you needed to hear. Here is what I want you to take away from everything we covered today. Your retirement savings are not just threatened by market crashes, inflation, or bad investments. They are threatened by something far more personal and far more controllable, the quality of sleep you get every single night. Every night of poor sleep is not just a bad night. It is a financial risk. It is a decision-making impairment. It is an open door for anxiety, panic, and vulnerability that can cost you more than any market downturn ever could. You spent decades building your retirement. You sacrificed, you saved, you planned. Do not let something as silent and invisible as poor sleep quietly undo everything you worked so hard to create. Protect your sleep with the same seriousness and discipline that you protected your savings. Because in retirement, they are exactly the same thing. The one thing to do today. If you take only one thing from this video, let it be this: tonight, set a fixed wake-up time and commit to it every single morning without exception. That one decision starts rebuilding the sleep foundation that protects your mind, your judgment, and your money all at once. If this video opened your eyes to something nobody else is talking about, please hit that like button and subscribe for honest retirement conversations every single week. Drop a comment below. Do you struggle with sleep since retiring? I read every single comment. See you in the next one.